And welcome back. Well, many people assume that you only need a will for an estate plan, but the truth is it's a lot more complicated than that.
Yeah, joining us now, armed with a true-false paddle and a wealth of knowledge, is attorney Dan Krause with Krause Estate Planning and Elder Law. He's going to cover some of the biggest myths and misconceptions about estate planning. You got your true-false panel, Dan?
Got it,
You're
ready.
our expert.
So, the Morning Blend is my favorite show. True or false?
That's true.
Yeah, good. We got to make sure you know how to use it.
Yeah, we
Best
can
show
see you
on
know how to use it. All right, let's go ahead and get started then, because I think these are great questions.
Yes.
True or false? I only need to worry about having an estate plan if I am wealthy.
Well, that's got to be false, because many people need an estate plan, whether they are wealthy or whether they're not wealthy, specifically to make sure that your children are taken care of. People that don't have any money and are starting out a family, if God forbid something happens to them and they haven't created an estate plan, then it's going to be a fight probably amongst the grandparents who's going to take care of the kids if the parents pass away. But if the parents have written down what their wishes are, then the child can be put in the family that they want instead of the family that's the hardest fighter or the one with the most money.
Important decisions that go beyond just what your people inherit. It's decisions like that.
Exactly, and sometimes it's a matter of disinheritance.
Yeah.
So we have families that want to make sure that certain people don't get anything, and if you haven't written that down, then that person may well inherit from you, whether it's small or large, and that can make a difference to you or your family.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, the next one, true or false, Dan? My mother was just diagnosed with Alzheimer's. She does not have an estate plan. Do we need to get one put in place right away?
True, you really have to. If someone in your family is running low on their mental energy, if they start to forget things, it's time to get them to see an estate planner immediately so that they can sign documents, important documents, before they lose the ability to do that. So as long as they can understand the documents and as long as they know who their family is, you need to get them to a place that they can sign these important documents before it's too late.
I have a good one. I think a lot of people might be confused about this. True or false, Dan? I do not need a power of attorney if I'm married, because my spouse can do it, right?
Exactly, that's false.
False.
And if anybody has ever dealt with this before, I know I have, you call up the credit card company and you want to talk with them about something, and if your spouse was the one that took out the credit card, they will not talk to you. I don't know if you've ever had that happen. Things like credit cards, IRAs, if you try to manipulate your spouse's IRA, you will not be able to unless you have a power of attorney that allows you to do that. So dealing with Social Security Administration, IRAs, any accounts with only your spouse's name on it, you cannot do that just because you're married. You must have a power of attorney.
Or like employee-sponsored 401ks, for example, too, would fall into that category.
Exactly.
All right, okay, the next one, true or false? I can make my own will. I'm just going to write it down on a piece of paper, sign it, and put it in a safe. True or false?
Well, that's false. I mean, people can make their own wills. It's legal. You don't need an attorney to make a will, but you have to follow the rules, and the rules around wills are very specific. So if you do want to make your will, which I don't recommend, you need to make sure that it's properly witnessed.
Okay.
And you have to have the right type of non-interested witnesses do that. We've seen people, unfortunately, that had very documented what they wanted done. They put it in their safe deposit box. They died, and they took it out, and the family brought it to me, and we took it into the court, and the court says it's not a will because it just had their signature. Nobody doubted that it was their handwriting or their signature, but it was not legally enforceable because it wasn't properly witnessed in this case.
That would be so frustrating.
Very.
Yeah.
Yes, very frustrating.
So you got to do it right.
Yes,
Yes.
and in this case, the longtime girlfriend of 20-some years was left out just because that document was not valid.
I had that happen to my uncle, actually. Same thing.
Okay, one last question. True or false? My family gets along well, so they won't fight over inheritance.
We're guessing that's a false.
Well, I hope that it's true, but it's not necessarily true. Obviously, we have seen unfortunately, families just come apart
Yeah.
after someone dies. If a parent dies, sometimes the old fighting over in the doghouse or whatever when the kids are young, all of that stuff comes back, and sometimes it really tears a family apart. And when things seem to be going well and mom and dad are there, mom and dad think, oh, they'll get along after we're gone. And then when the stabilizing parents are gone, sometimes things just fall apart. You never know. So,
Yeah. And why
be
cause the
careful.
fighting? Just have it out so that it's not them making those decisions. Good to have you here, Dan.
Get
Yeah,